Welcome to the Jp8 Report. This is James Pierce with the Jp8 Report, episode 355. Wow, what a sad day that we just heard. I heard it at 9 o'clock this morning with Dan Bongino. We were like, "What is he late for today?" It was like 9:03, and I was like, "Okay, gotta refresh my browser." Because sometimes the computers out here they go wacky on us and stuff, and I'm like, and his countdown timer went off, and he said, "Is that confirmed?" And it went back to his screensaver for like 5 seconds. It came on, and I said, and then when he told everyone that Chuck Norris passed, uh, wow, that is unbelievable. One of my, you can ask my wife. He's one of my favorite actors. I mean, he was the epitome. I'm going to talk more about him in a minute. Uh, I named the show after him today, but that was crazy. Um, yeah, my favorite show from him is Delta Force. I love watching the Delta Force. Wow, that and I remember watching Walker Texas Ranger. But yeah, we'll get more into that in a few minutes and stuff. Thank y'all for tuning in for the last JP8 report for this week. All right. Gotcha, didn't I? It's not even April Fool's yet. I have next week, I have interviews on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday with city council candidates in Killeen. And I got my standard JP8 reports and morning briefs all week next week. So you're going to get to see me 10, 11, 12, 13 times next week. All right. Plus any shorts I do. So I stay pretty active. Hey, as we get started, if you have not clicked that follow button for the JPA report, click that follow button, please. And then right next to it, press that thumbs up button for a like. And I got my hall monitor in here right now. Retired Rob 53. He was out yesterday. He's in today. And I'm going to say something to him real quick. Hey, Rob, Richard said hello because he was with me this morning in the morning brief. Just so you know, you got to get up early in the morning, man. Stop watching TV at night. So, hey, this is what we do. So let's have some fun, okay? That's what the chat is for. Remember, it's temporary. So when the podcast ends, the chat file goes away. So nobody has a record of what you said, no matter how cool it was or how stupid it was. But it's just fun. Let's just have some fun. I'm looking for 12 more chatters before the end of the month. So if you just get on there and just say hello to me and Rob, or even Covite for life when he comes on board, just say hello. Just say something cool, okay? So with that being said, let's continue on. We have the America 250 for the day, and it was a proclamation proclamation on the occupation of Boston from Cambridge on the 21st of March. I did the 20th this morning with the morning brief, and this is for Saturday the 21st. By His Excellency George Washington Esquire, Captain General and Commander-in-Chief of the forces of the 13 United Colonies, whereas the Ministerial Army, that would be the British Army, whereas the Ministerial Army have abandoned the town of Boston and the forces of the United Colonies under my command are in possession of the same. I have therefore thought it necessary for the preservation of peace, good order, and discipline to publish the following orders, that no person offending therein may plead ignorance as an excuse for their misconduct. All officers and soldiers are hereby ordered to live in the strictest peace and amity with the inhabitants, and no inhabitant or other person employed in this lawful business in the town is to be molested in his person or property or on any pretense whatever. If any officer or soldier shall presume to strike, imprison, or otherwise ill-treat any of the inhabitants, they may depend on being punished with the most severity. And if any officer or soldier shall receive an insult from any of the inhabitants, he is to seek redress in a legal way and no other. Any non-commissioned officer, soldier, or others under my command who shall be guilty of robbing or plundering in the town are to be immediately confined and will be most rigidly punished. All officers are therefore ordered to be very vigilant in the discovery of such offenders and report their names and crime to the commanding officer in the town as soon as may be. The inhabitants and others are called upon to make known to the quartermaster general or any of his deputies all stores belonging to the ministerial army, that they may be remaining or secreted in the town. Any person or persons whatsoever that shall be known to conceal any of these of said stores or appropriate them to his or own use will be considered an enemy of America and treated accordingly. The select men and other magistrates of the town and desire to return to the commander-in-chief the names of all or any person or persons they may suspect of being employed as spies upon the Continental Army, that they may be dealt with accordingly. All officers of the Continental Army are enjoined to assist the civil magistrates in the execution of their duty and to promote peace and good order. They are to prevent as much as possible the soldiers from frequenting tippling houses and strolling from their posts. Particular notice will be taken of such officers as the inattentive and remiss in their duty, and on the contrary, such only who are active and vigilant will be entitled to future favor and promotion, given under my hand at headquarters in Cambridge this 21st day of March, 1776, George Washington. That was actually pretty cool. All right, so that being said, 60 years later in Texas, right after the fall of the Alamo, there was the Battle of Coleto, right, which is over by Goliad. So today is the 60th anniversary of the surrender of Colonel James Fannin at Goliad. Okay, so on March 19th, General Uriah had quickly advanced and surrounded 300 men of the Texian army on the open prairie near La Brea, which is Goliad. The two-day Battle of Coleto ensued, with the Texans holding their own on the first day. The Mexicans received overwhelming reinforcements and heavy artillery, and in this critical predicament, Fannin and the majority of men voted to surrender to Texan forces on March 20th, led to believe that they would be paroled and released into the United States. They would return to the fort at Goliad, now their prison. It says Albert Clinton Horton and his company had been acting as the advance and rear guards of Fannin's company. Surprised by the overwhelming Mexican force, they were chased off and escaped, but 18 were captured and marched back to Goliad. The 75 soldiers of William Parsons Miller and the Nashville Battalion were captured on March 20th and marched to Goliad on March 23rd. On March 22nd, William Ward and the Georgia Battalion, 80 men plus Ward, surrendered after escaping from the Battle of Refugio. About 26 men were retained as victorious laborers, but 55 of the prisoners were marched into Goliad on March 25th. That being said, from March 20th to March 25th, Goliad swelled to approximately 450 to 500 men. All right. So the next thing that would happen would be March 27th, which would be the massacre. All right. So next month is the 190th anniversary of San Jacinto. Right. That's where we won our independence in Texas. And that's where you hear, remember the Alamo, remember Goliad. Those are two of the hugest battle cries in our War of Independence here in Texas. And that's what happened today in Goliad, was the surrender of Colonel Fannin and his men. All right. All right. Thank you for allowing me to read that. All right. Like I said, feel free to chat. If you like me doing the American 250 and the Texas 190, Texas history is very important to me. I really appreciate that. All right. So next up is the Iran update. So Operation Epic Fury, Saudi Arabia expects oil to go to $180 a barrel Brent crude price if Iran continues to fight. Ali Mohammed Nani is dead. He was killed by an Israeli airstrike. He was a spokesman for the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. He's looking for his 72 virgins. He didn't find them. So sorry, Charlie, or Ali. Iran, they tried to enter, Iranian terrorists tried to enter a United Kingdom nuclear missile base. Several people were arrested. A Kuwaiti oil refinery was hit by several drones yesterday, on Thursday. The Kuwaitis are steadily putting that fire out. It doesn't look like it was as damaged as they thought it was. The United Arab Emirates intercepted 4 ballistic missiles and 26 UAVs, that'd be unmanned aerial vehicles, which is a drone, from Iran. And then at the same time, the U.S. approved a $7 billion arms sale to the United Arab Emirates. Probably most of that goes to air defense. Let's see. Mike Pence, the former vice president, actually backed President Trump in his actions in Iran. The Department of Justice seized Iranian web domains across the world. The battle damage assessment in Wednesday's attack in Qatar from Iran at their LNG processing plant was extensive. It's going to cost the Qataris $20 billion a year, every year for 5 years to repair that facility. All right. I don't know. If I was the Qataris, after this war is over, I would sue Iran for restitution to help repair that facility. Right. The International Energy Agency approved the previously acknowledged release of 426 million barrels of oil to the open market. They're trying to get the price down, and I think we're doing like 125 million in the United States with our strategic petroleum reserve. Trump, okay, I already said that part. The United Arab Emirates brings down a terrorist group. They were allied with Hezbollah in Iran, so they're gone. And then I just read and I really shouldn't say, I hate putting this stuff out, but there are 2,500 Marines that have been deployed from the U.S., and then 3 ships they're heading toward the Middle East. I don't know if it's a MU or what, a Marine Expeditionary Unit, but really troop movements should be kept to a minimum. Really, we shouldn't really know what that's at. And then for petroleum and Dow Jones, okay, as of 10:30 Eastern Daylight Time, which is an hour and a half ago, right? Um, the Dow Jones was at 45,768. It was down 252 points. West Texas Intermediate was sitting at $95.82 a barrel. That was 40 cents up. And then Brent crude was sitting at $104.51 a barrel. That's down 30 cents. So that is what we're looking at with the Iran update. All right. All right. So as we move forward, thank you everyone that's tuning in right now. And if you are, don't forget to follow the podcast and like the podcast, please. The Jp8 report looks for everyone we can get. And also, don't forget to chat we got 2 active chatters in the chat right now besides me. We have retired Rob 53. We have a Covite for life. They're both really good friends of mine. Drop in and say hello to them. All right. So the first thing on my list, what I want to talk about is Chuck Norris. And I'm going to read the report I got out of Fox News. And I'm going to say first, okay, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, he was one of my favorite actors. He was. He's a really good guy. He's a veteran. He was in the Air Force. And then he spent his life. He started acting martial arts wise in 1972 against Bruce Lee, another really good actor and martial arts guy. But my favorite movies from him was number 1 was Delta Force, and then number 2 was Missing in Action, and number 3 was Lone Wolf McQuade. And everyone liked Walker Texas Ranger, not the reboot, the original. All right. So I mean, if you miss Chuck Norris, put an American flag in the chat, please. Okay, I really appreciate that. Put American flags in the live chat. All right. I see 10 people right now. That's on the podcast. Let's go for it. All right. There might be more. All right. So it was heavy hearts that our family shares the sudden passing of our beloved Chuck Norris yesterday morning. While we would like to keep the circumstances private, please know that he was surrounded by his family and was at peace. To the world, he was a martial artist, actor, and a symbol of strength. To us, he was a devoted husband and a loving father and grandfather, an incredible brother, and the heart of our family. He lived his life with faith, purpose, and unwavering commitment to the people he loved. Through his work, discipline, and kindness, he inspired millions around the world and left a lasting impact on so many lives. There's a picture of Chuck Norris right there. I didn't really have time to do a screen for him. I wish I would have. The statement continued, while our hearts are broken, we are deeply grateful for the life he lived and for the unforgettable moments we were blessed to share with him. The love and support he received from fans around the world meant so much to him, and our family is truly thankful for it. To him, you are not just fans, you are friends. We know many of you had heard about his recent hospitalization, and we are truly grateful for the prayers and support you sent his way. As we grieve his loss, our family asks for privacy for our family during this time. Thank you for loving him with us. Born Carlos Ray Norris in Ryan, Oklahoma. I've been to Ryan. Wow. March 10th, 1940. He grew up poor. At the age of 12, he moved with his family to Torrance, California, and joined the U.S. Air Force after high school in 1958. It was during a deployment to Korea that he started training in martial arts, including judo and tang soo do. He says, I grew up extremely shy, introverted all my life, and non-athletic. Norris once said during an appearance on the 700 Club. People have a hard time believing that. But again, not having a father around, being shy, I just never participated in sports that much. It wasn't until I went to Korea out of high school and got exposed to the martial arts for the first time and was completely enamored with the physical ability of the martial arts and making my black belt. That's an accomplishment, guys. After his honorable discharge in 1962, he opened a martial arts studio, which later expanded into a chain of studios attended by the likes of Steve McQueen, Priscilla Presley, and Bob Barker. McQueen, he once said, was responsible for getting him into acting. His first appearance was a small, uncredited role in 1968's The Wrecking Crew, and he appeared in a handful of films in the early 70s while he was also competing in martial arts. After retiring from competitive karate in 1974, he wasn't sure about his next move, but McQueen suggested he step further into Hollywood. I jumped into films when I was in my 30s. He told the Los Angeles Times in 1988, I had no experience. I'd never even done a high school play. And here I am trying to jump into the acting field. If I looked at it in a negative way, I would have given up. But from training myself over the years to think positively and to realize that if there was ever a will, there was a way, I was able to achieve success. He went in to act in more than 20 movies, such as Missing in Action, The Delta Force, and Sidekicks. I forgot about that movie. In 1993, he took on the most famous role, a crime-fighting lawman in TV's Walker, Texas Ranger. The show ran for 9 seasons, and in 2010, then Governor Rick Perry awarded him the honorary Texas Ranger, and the Texas Senate later named him an honorary Texan. Norris' last role was in 2024, which was 2 years ago, in Agent Recon. In addition to acting in martial arts, Norris put a lot of work into philanthropy. In 1990, he started Kickstart Kids with the help of President George H.W. Bush. The organization adds karate to physical education programs in schools across the state of Texas with character building lessons built in. Its website reports more than 120,000 children have been enrolled in the program since its inception. Norris was outspoken about his Christian beliefs, which we all should be, and his support for gun rights and backed political candidates for years. He even went skydiving with Bush for the former president's 80th birthday. As for Trump, Norris endorsed him in 2016 general election and wrote guest columns praising him without explicitly endorsing him in the days before the 2020 and 2024 elections. And he is survived by his wife of nearly 30 years, Gina Kelly, and sons Mike and Eric, and daughters Dakota, Danalee, and Dinah. What a great guy. And he will be missed. And it's great that God allowed him to live 86 years. He was a professed Christian, a great actor. He was a veteran of our armed forces and be sorely missed. My hat's off to him. And don't forget about guys like this. And that was great. All right. There you go, Richard. That's good because he lived in Texas and he lived in Hawaii. So we got the American flag and a Texas flag. All right. So let's head on into the news, right? So let's see. Okay, so this is what I got. I'm going to show y'all the Truth Social that the president wrote, and I'm going to read a quick excerpt while y'all are looking at it that he put out, all right? So transition. There we go there. President Trump ripped NATO for acting like cowards Friday, slamming their lack of help in reopening the Strait of Hormuz during the war with Iran. Without the USA, NATO is a paper tiger. They don't want to join the fight to stop a nuclear-powered Iran, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Now that it's militarily won and with very little danger for them, they complain about high oil prices they're forced to pay, but don't want to help open the Strait of Hormuz, a simple military maneuver that is the single reason for the high oil prices, Trump added. So easy for them to do with so little risk. Cowards, and we will remember. The Strait of Hormuz, a key maritime passage connecting the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, is vital for the global energy supply and has been threatened by Iran during the war. And for almost 47 years, it fails to reiterate also. Iran has always been like that, and NATO, for some strange reason, is like that also. I served two tours in Germany. My first tour, we had 4 infantry divisions, 2 armored cavalry regiments, all stationed throughout Germany, right? If it was not for the U.S., I can tell you right now, the Russians would have occupied all of Western Europe. Hands down, that would have happened because Europeans have no will to fight. Maybe the British to a point. And tell me if you, tell me if you think I'm wrong. Do the Europeans have the will to fight in a war? Particularly the Western Europeans. Because when I was in Iraq, we fought alongside of Polish and Georgians soldiers like that, right? They step up and they provide for us, right? We are soldiers armed and armed. But when it looks like taking initiative, you have what these guys are doing is that they're falling back on the leadership of France. What does France want to do, right? What does Paris want to do? Paris has never done anything. I mean, yeah, they were on ships outside of Norfolk during the Revolutionary War. Really? What happened in World War II when they capitulated in Vichy, France, right? What happened in World War I? If it was not for the British and Americans, France would have fallen. they show no leadership at all. They can't even keep a post-war government in place. Right now they got Macron. Yeah, sure, right? But what good is he? What has he done besides embarrass himself and the United States? He shows no loyalty. Starmer in the UK is the same way. Spain, same way. Germany, to a point, but they just came out and said, we don't want part of this. Dude, do you want oil? Do you want liquefied natural LNG? Do you want any of that? It's been 2 weeks since a tanker has traversed through the Strait of Hormuz. That means Iranian oil doesn't get through, Kuwaiti oil doesn't get through, Qatari oil doesn't get through, Bahrain oil doesn't get through, right? Saudi Arabia has a pipeline that cuts across Saudi Arabia to the Red Sea. That's the only oil getting out of the Middle East. What do you want the United States to do everything? Because that's not a treaty. That's a one-sided story. It goes both ways. We support you. We got your back. You got our back. You tell me where I'm wrong. Because if I'm going to fight for you, you should be willing to fight for us. How much, you got people that want to complain about the Ukraine, right? And it's like, we shouldn't be giving everything. But what has Europe really truly given the Ukraine in terms of weapons to fight the Russians? How much of that equipment was probably made in the USA? How much? How much of the Patriot systems and Stinger systems, the CRAMs, the stuff to knock down drones and missiles, tanks, fighter aircraft, all that made in the USA? How much of it was made in Germany? How much of it was made in Spain? How much of it was made in France or England? Maybe 5% if you're lucky. They don't care. The Europeans don't care. And I can think it could be the influx of Muslims into their countries, which has, you could look at it as adjusting their voting patterns and the people they represent, because they absorbed everything with that. And you got little sheikdoms throughout the Europe and stuff, where we got these Islam communities throughout, especially in England, right around London and stuff. Is that so? I have this article I'm going to read in a little bit when we go premium. So if you ain't got it on premium yet, you need to do that. All right. So it's socialism begets radical Islam. So you go from capitalism to socialism and then Islam, right? Look at that you can take a look of New York City. Capitalists, they went through to the socialism part, and now you got a Muslim that's a devout Muslim that's in charge of New York City, and you can see by his beliefs and actions, he don't care. He is intent of making that transformation. There are people that are sick of hearing the calls of prayer 5 times a day and stuff. But if you blare your boombox or your car stereo, you get cited for noise pollution, right? But that is, I mean, oh yeah, I haven't even looked at the chat. England's Navy is their pride and joy, but they believe we are starting a war. But, there's no other Navy in the Strait of Hormuz, Richard. They just, when you use a projectional force, it's like when you do a flyby with an Apache or like an F-16 or F-18, you cause the enemy to think about his life. Like, do I really need to get involved like this? When you have a destroyer or a cruiser traversing through the Strait of Hormuz, whether you call it the Arabian Gulf or the Persian Gulf, going from there into the Arabian Sea, if you come across a naval vessel, right? Whether it has the United Nations flag up on it, or it has a British flag, or a German flag, or an American flag, you will be less apt to risk your life because you will have so much overwhelming firepower and force come down on you that you won't even get a chance to drop a mine or fire a rocket at all. That will give time for these other cargo and petroleum vessels to traverse out of the Strait of Hormuz and go to their final destinations. That is all what President Trump is asking them to do. All right. I hope that explains a little bit there. But if you push us too far, and I know it will take an act of Congress, right? But how long is a treaty good for if you don't act like it's a treaty? All right. I spent 2 tours of duty in Germany, and I know we were serving under NATO there, right? But your buddy has got to have your back like we have to have their back. So if someone was the threatened or to attack us, or like what the president was saying, we were in imminent danger of, when they were finally able to secure enough depleted uranium and put it on a missile, they were going to launch it. Or they could have made a briefcase nuke, walk it into a subway in New York City and detonate it. I mean, it could happen. Go right into Jerusalem, do the same thing, go to Istanbul, go to Berlin, and they can do a ballistic missile that way, or they can, like I said, take a briefcase or load a vehicle up. Right now, you can do enough depleted, what do they call it, fertilizer, make a fertilizer bomb and make a humongous explosion, where you can take a little briefcase with a dirty nuke in it and pop it. That is what we're trying to prevent. 47 years of terrorist activity from Iran is coming to an end, and we need to permanently end it, and we need a little bit of help to do it, right? If you agree with what I'm talking about, put some comment in there. Put American flag, all right? If I'm going overboard, just say, James, cool down those jets, okay? I'll do it, all right? I just stand on what I believe in. All right, so we are getting away from talking about Iran. We're going to go into politics. Democrats vow political reckoning if they win midterms as campaign season heats up. I touched on this a little bit this morning. You have guys like the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, and you have Senator Gallegos from Arizona, and countless others. They said, two things happened. One, they went off on Brendan Carr. Brendan Carr is the FCC commissioner. He is responsible for the Fairness Doctrine. He is responsible for broadcast license of every open air television and radio station in the United States, right? And plus little walkie-talkies and stuff like that, but I digress. All right. So yesterday, it says here, Democrats have been stockpiling ideas for months on how to retaliate against companies and figured that they have aligned themselves closely to President Donald Trump's political agenda, telegraphing That merger and breakups in committee investigations will play a central role in their efforts to push back against the administration should they regain power. Most recently, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, right, um, took to social media to highlight his most recent entry on that list. Brendan Carr is a corrupt political hack and fake chair of the FCC. If he was a fake chair of the FCC, how did he get consent? The the Senate. How did they approve his taking that job? Right. I forgot what the Senate calls it, but let's see. This guy and it says this guy and the entities he promotes will find himself on the wrong side of a congressional investigation in short order, quote unquote. Right? Jeffrey's comments were made in response to a post from Carr suggesting the administration would more closely review licenses renewals for broadcasters perpetuating fake news, i.e., the fairness doctrine, because they want to show one-sided Democrat news that never entertains Republican way of thinking, and they can lie, cheat, and steal it away and help Democrats get reelected. That's all they do. Just look at the proportionality of the difference in how many conservative stories compared to how many liberal stories they do on all the broadcast channels and all the late night non-comedy shows, right? The struggle over political alignment isn't unique to Carr. The comments have piled up as the nation inches closer to the November midterms, a critical opportunity for Democrats to break a Republican governing trifecta and more visibly push back against Trump administration. Even regaining control of just one chamber of Congress could enable Democrats to carry out their list of retaliation. Democrats like Senator Ruben Gallego, a fake senator, he just acts in name only, hopes to pursue companies that receive approval for mergers under Trump's watch. Once, he said, quote, once we take power, whoever the president is, we're going, what, is that a veiled threat or what? Once we take power, whoever the president is, we're going to break up your companies, unquote. Senator Ruben Gallego, Democrat Arizona, told Semaphore. So, all the investment you did to create these mergers are going to be for naught. Your investors are going to be pissed at you, and you're likely going to end up getting fired as a CEO because you wasted so much money and corrupted yourself in the process, Gallego said. That's a crock. If you're in Arizona and you vote for Gallego, you're just as complicit as that fake senator is. Under the Trump administration's noble mergers include Paramount's $82.7 billion acquisition of Warner Brothers, Capital One's $35 billion acquisition of Escobar, and Nippon Steel's acquisition of U.S. Steel for $14.9 billion. Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat of Connecticut, similarly echoed Gallego's thinking in an X post. Paramount should enjoy its growing news monopoly while they have it, because when Democrats win back, we are going to break up these anti-democratic information conglomerates, Murphy wrote, all of them, quote unquote, all of them. Skydance Media, the parent company of Paramount, has close ties to the Trump administration through its CEO, David Ellison, a figure who appeared as a Republican guest on the 2026 State of the Union and who has been a frequent guest at the White House. Susan Rice, another corrupt, good for nothing, a former top official in the Biden and Obama administrations. Let me rephrase that. A former top official in the Otto Penn and Obama administrations also recently caused a stir after she appeared to vow political retribution during a Vox interview last month against companies once Democrats regained control of Congress and the White House. They're going to be held accountable by those who come in opposition to Trump and win at the ballot box. I think whether you're a law firm, whether you're a university, whether you're a media entity, whether you are a big corporation, whether you're big tech, you need to play a long game, not this short game that is going to be detrimental. Subpoena powers also make a part of how the Democrats will also pursue their objectives if they regain power. Congressman Pete Aguilar, another Democrat, the third most powerful Democrat in the House, noted that using the subpoena powers being to bring in former President Clinton likely clears the way for lawmakers to compel high-ranking testimony from Trump's orbit. It seems an interesting precedent on who is subject to come into oversight, and we will see that next year holds for Trump Inc. and the Trump family, Aguilar said, alluding to the request Democrats might make if they take the majority in 2027. The targets for Democrats extend to the private sector as well. During a House Oversight Committee during last year, Jasmine Crockett, who will not be part of Congress next year, interrupted proceedings to demand lawmakers subpoena billionaire Elon Musk over his work with the Department of Government Efficiency. The motion was to subpoena Elon Musk, who is heading Doge, who is the one who made the recommendations for these spending cuts. Her calls were taken up in the Senate, where Bernie Sanders, another has-been, introduced a similar motion citing Musk's closeness to the president and influence in efforts to slim down government operations. Quote, Mr. Chairman, if we are serious about exercising our constitutional responsibilities, which I hope all of us are, it is critical for our committee to hear from the person who is in fact in charge of the federal government, Sanders said to the committee. He's alluding to Elon Musk, which he's not in charge. Democrats reached by Fox News did not respond to a request for comment on their plans to implement their past comments. See, they're good at talking in front of a microphone, but when a conservative newscast says, hey, can we get a comment? They won't say jack because they're held accountable for their statements they make that are so liable and defamatory that in surprise they ain't been sued or arrested, right? Because the Constitution says I think it's the Constitution said they had the freedom of speech from prosecution in the well of the Congress, which would be where they speak from in the Senate and where they speak from in the House of Representatives, not their individual offices, not their cell phones, not on the front steps of the Capitol. All that is legal tender. They are protected inside their actual speaking area where they do their speeches, right? But they play that game. They think they're playing the long game. This should be enough. This story should be enough to convince every butthurt Republican that says, my Kennedy got mean. I'm going to go home and just watch TV and don't do nothing ever again. I don't care. because my candidate got beat. Look at this. There can only be one winner, and there's always a whole lot of losers, but there can be only one winner in a political race. If you are a Republican, you need to get off your fourth point of contact. That would be, in non-army terms, get off your butt and go vote. Go vote in local elections, go vote in state elections, and you go vote in federal elections, especially this November 2nd, I believe. And you vote Republican and keep the Congress red, House and Senate. And one other thing, if you live in the state of Virginia and you have not voted yet because you're waiting for the April 21st, you need to go early vote and you need to vote no on that redistricting that's going to try to shift 4 Republicans to the Democrat side. That is first and foremost. And then another one, and I just keep at it. Congressman Kilcoy in California, his stupid, good-for-nothing comment that he mentioned, I'm going to start caucusing more with Democrats as I'm going to do with Republicans. Instead of voting as a Republican like you were elected for, you need to have a change of heart. You need to talk to the Speaker of the House and regain your Republican credentials back and do the right thing. If you think you're going to get voted back into the House of Representatives because you changed from R to an I, all those people in your district know you are a Republican. And so if you think you're going to get voted in as an independent, I got another story for you, because that dog don't bark. It won't. You will find yourself on all the lists of losers and not on the list of the winners, right? Your jungle primaries you're going to be in, you won't make second place, and you're definitely not going to make first place. So you need to go back to being a Republican and play the game that you got elected for in this legislative session. All right? I think I said enough on that matter. It's already 12:52. I got 3 stories in. Wow. And one of them was Chuck Norris. Boy, I wish Chuck Norris was here right now. Because, man, all right. Let's see. I need to be selective on how I'm doing this now. All right. SAVE Act. All right. We're going to do the SAVE Act real quick. 2 articles. They're in day 4, and I'm not even going to put it on the TV to see if they're debating, because I don't want to get my feelings hurt that, we're going home early. Well, I saw earlier that they're actually debating in the Senate for the Save America Act, which is good, right? So Chucky Schumer and Senator Waycross or Warnock, Warnock, the guy that didn't even act like a preacher. Check this out, all right? In trying to downplay its seriousness and scope, Senator Chuck Schumer and Senator Raphael Warnock tactically acknowledged the existence of a problem they've argued is immaterial, that illegal immigrants may be able to unlawfully participate in federal elections. The evidence is that almost no illegal aliens vote. Almost. He said almost. It should be none. Schumer said in remarks on the Senate floor. That's where he's protected at. Warnock similarly acknowledged the issue while listing statistics about voting records in his home state, which is Georgia. 8.2 million people are registered to vote in Georgia. The Republican Secretary of State found 20 instances of non-citizens who were registered and only 9 had ever attempted to vote. That's 9 too many. Their comments came as the pair of Democrats argued against the passage of the Save America Act, legislation that would impose citizenship requirements for voter registration. Democrats have fiercely opposed the Republican-led bill, citing concerns that voter integrity measures an over heavy-handed and could inadvertently burden communities that may struggle to provide documented proof of citizenship. This is a solution in search of a problem that does not exist. Warnock said that. Under the bill, check this out. This is where I'm getting. Under the bill, voters could use a real ID, a birth certificate, or a passport to satisfy the requirements according to the bill's text. Right? Republicans who argue that lax identity requirements may already be allowed an unknown number of non-citizens onto voter rolls have launched a marathon standoff on the Senate floor. So let me go back. Under the bill, voters could use a real ID, a birth certificate, or a passport to satisfy the requirements according to the bill's text. All right. So I still got people hanging on listening to me. How many people in the chat has a real ID? That would be a driver's license with a black star or gold star in the upper right-hand corner. Because if you live in Texas like I do, I have a little gold star on the upper right-hand corner showing that I have the real ID, which is a federally approved identification card issued by the state of Texas, which mine's a driver's license. I can use that to register to vote because that shows proof of my citizenship. So how is it 70 or 80 million American women are going to lose their right to vote because they're going to lose their registration because there's no proof of identification in there? Everybody in the United States is required to have a real ID. Everyone. Retired Rob says the fifth attempt to limit debate on DHS funding through September 30th, 69 votes needed. 60 votes needed. How many votes did they get? I'll give them time. Now, to go along with that, with what Rob is saying about the Save America Act, right? Well, yesterday, a senator from the state of Ohio is, man, it's already 1 o'clock. I'll make this part quick before I move on to premium side. So yesterday, a senator from Ohio, the one that took J.D. Vance's place in the U.S. Senate, made a recommendation to the sponsor of the Senate bill, which is Mike Lee. The recommendation would be strip the required photo ID to vote in the Save America Act and make it stand alone to pass it. And that's all they had to do. And then they can go back to debating the rest of the Save America Act, right? A humongous portion of the United States, Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green, Libertarian, Communist, everyone, right? A vast majority of them, vast majority of them, agree with photo ID to be able to vote. Because you need to show photo ID to drive, to go to a bar, to go gamble, to buy tobacco, to rent a hotel room, to rent a car, right? To cash a check, all kinds of stuff, right? So they took it upon themselves to go through the Senate through unanimous consent to try that tried to do unanimous consent to approve photo ID and strip that away from the Save America Act. The Democrats voted against the photo ID. Chucky Schumer and his motley crew, all they want to do is thumb their nose at the president and will not agree to anything the president says about voter ID, proof of citizenship, mail-in ballots, everything, right? That is a problem. That is a problem. And it goes back to the constitutional makeup of the Senate and the House. We need more Republicans in those seats so we can get legislation passed. When the time comes in the next session, when they do the rules part of the Senate, they need to extinguish the filibuster. And if you're intent to keeping the filibuster in place, make the cloture vote 51 votes instead of 60. Put one vote over minimum, right? And just do it and just keep it like that, right? So if you get a 50-50 Senate, it won't pass cloture, right? But it should, the photo ID portion should have passed. It should have passed. All right. So that's day 4 of the SAVE Act, right? Sorry it took so long for some of this today. I wish I had more time on this, but I need to go. I got required time I got to do on premium, so I'm going to transition to premium in just a minute. The other SAVE Act, Thune accuses critics of creating false expectations amid backlash over stalled Save America Act. Okay, I'm not going to read that because we're doing our best to pass that. And like I said, you need to continue to get a hold of your senator and express your wishes that the way he needs or she needs to vote to get that SAVE Act across. With attention paid to contacting Senator Thune and any Democrat that you can think that would change their mind, and somehow maybe Lisa Murkowski and Tom Tillis, and maybe the Turtle, right? The Turtle is, what's his name? Mitch McConnell. All right. All right. So that is a Jp8 report, as much as I can get done for the day. But I'm going to go into premium because we're going to talk about socialism and stuff like that for a while. All right, so catch me. My next one is at 6:30 Monday morning with the morning brief. Have a great weekend. If you want to join us on premium, you go to rumble.com/ because I don't have it. Well, you know what? Maybe I can. Hold on just a second. Refresh. Rumble Premium. We got Rumble Premium on here. Oh, no way. Okay, so go to rumble.com/premium, rumble.com/premium/studio. That's how you get Rumble Premium. They got a they have a $10 off, right? All right. So that is, I'm going to go ahead and do an ad read real quick before I go to premium to help us all out, right? So they can cancel your accounts, they can freeze your cards, decide what you're allowed to buy, say, or support. Big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. That's why financial independence matters more now than ever. Introducing Rumble Wallet, a wallet built for real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Buy digital assets like Tether Gold, and Bitcoin in one secure place. No permission, no middlemen, no cancel button. When you want to support the creators you actually believe in, you can use the Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators securely, instantly, and without interference. This isn't a credit line that they can shut off. It's your wallet permanently. Yours to protect your future, yours to protect your family. When the system fails, when the institutions turn on their own people, financially, sovereignty is in the difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet isn't about politics, it's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download the Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. True ownership, true protection, true financial freedom. All right. Thank you all for letting me read that. Okay. And then I use Rumble Wallet. It's really cool. It's really easy to use. You can find it on Google Play and iTunes, whatever they call it. Right. That means you can tip guys like me for the stuff we go through to put this stuff together, or Dan Bongino or Graham Allen and guys like that, right? All right. Or you can do investing on your own also. All right. But I'm about to do the transition to premium. And don't forget rumble.com/premium. And then the code word is studio that gives you $10 off. All right. So I will catch the non-premium guys Monday morning or Monday at noon. Okay. So here we go. Click the little lock.